We are here to talk about today about the Act for Food program, Act for Food platform, which is not advertising big idea. It's bigger than that. It's a corporate program as well. And so we are here to talk about it because we are also very proud to have won the white pencil for it, for the scale of it and the impact. And we are very glad to discuss it today. So where the idea for the project came from, actually the brief was pretty wide. The objective was to accelerate the transformation of the company from a price war model to a food quality model, and make Carrefour the leader of the food transition for all. And it was also at a global scale because we had to do this in 10 countries. So the origin of the idea actually is a bit of a long story, because it was inspired by insights from a failure and insights from a success. So first, a failure, because we were doing some previous work on Carrefour, which wasn't very successful. The context was that Carrefour had always been committed to food quality, but very few people knew about it because they didn't talk about it at all for the longest time. So when it was time for us to do a campaign on food quality, it didn't really work because people didn't have really any background, and also it was done at a time when every other retailer was starting to reposition on food quality. So what was happening was that in consumer focus group, people attributed our ads to our competitors and vice versa. So it didn't really work as well. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't a huge success. So, but what was interesting, what we learned from it, was that in focus group, people did spontaneously talk about what was actually happening in Carrefour stores. They were spontaneously talking about concrete actions in the stores and not about the advertising. So we had a bit of a hint there, obviously, a start of an answer. So they didn't really believe the advertising at all. They were looking for the concrete action. So that was the insights from the failure. But we were also, we had the opportunity to learn from a success, because going through this failure, we realized that we couldn't just talk about food quality. It didn't have an impact at all. And I'm not going to tell the entire story about the creation of the Black Supermarket, but that's actually what inspired us to go into the creation process for the Black Supermarket. And the success of this campaign inspired the company and the agency to go further. It helped actually move the branding cursors a lot, and both with customers and internally at Carrefour as well. And it changed the way people working at Carrefour saw themselves. So they wanted to go further and go into something much bigger at a worldwide scale. So that's where the idea comes from. The scale of the project was pretty large. So the brief again was to accelerate the transformation of the company to a food quality model, but in 10 countries. So we focused on the common denominators for consumers in these 10 countries regarding food transition. So we focused on, first, the fact that they had very high expectations towards retailers to change the food industry, because they believe actually that retailers have a lot of power to change the food industry. Second, we focused on their mistrust of advertising discourse on food quality. And third, and most importantly, we focused on the fact that their ad recall boiled down to concrete action they could attribute to a brand. So from then on, Act for Food was pretty straightforward since we had these insights. So that's why we launched this program, and so corporate program, advertising program, which is a program of concrete actions for the food transition. And from then on, our campaigns became brand acts for food. So every campaign is an act for food. Acts to improve consumers' health, to make our food system better for farmers, for the planet. Because, and this is the point of view of the brand and of the company now, it's only through action that we'll eat better tomorrow, not with words.
So to sell this campaign, actually there was 6 months of pitching, with at least maybe 15 creative routes under this concept, this act for food concept. So of course there was some adjusting a lot, to be honest. But in a way, we were really confident with this act for food concept since the beginning. So yeah, adjustment were more about the execution actually, to try to satisfy those 10 countries Sarah just told you about, which is not that simple. So yeah, quite a marathon actually, but I think we found some solutions. I mean, in terms of concept, I think it's quite the same since the beginning we presented it. Then we were sure that, okay, as Sarah says, it's a creative platform, so it's a big stuff, you know. So I think, yeah, we were pretty confident with it. So then it was more discussion about, okay, what do we do in TVCs and stuff. And so, I mean, it's easier to find solution on this on this side. But yeah, on the concept, I think we were. Everybody was okay from the beginning, yeah.
So actually there was 2 teams at Marcel, the advertising team to develop the advertising campaign, but also the corporate program team. So maybe Clément, you want to talk a bit about the advertising team working on the project?
Yeah, we had to navigate the fact that we had to do TVCs about not talking but acting for food, which is actually not that easy on this medium, which is you know, declarative by definition. So we decided to do it in a very simple way. So we wrote a classic manifesto to show our not so original commitment for better food. Except this time we will let all the consumers interrupt our classic manifesto voice, the voiceover, you know, to tell him that they don't trust it anymore. So basically saying, okay, another big brand commitments, you know, what about acts? So that's what led us to this very direct and no-nonsense approach.
I think for the advertising part, it was quite a ride, because that's why the 15 creative routes, because we had to say we stopped talking about commitment, we start doing, but we are still doing a TVC about it. Yeah. So it's quite contradictory for a creative team.
So it was the anti-manifesto actually. That's yeah. Was the idea.
Yeah.
Nice.
And for the you know, bringing the actions to life, because it was a huge part of the campaign and of the program, there was also a dedicated corporate program team at Marcel, with creative people and the strategic planning and account people, because it's not just the brand platform. Again, it's a corporate program that puts CSR at the heart of the business transformation. So we had to work with the people at Carrefour to bring actions to life. We had to work with the marketing teams, but also the supply teams, people working on blockchain technology, people working on delivery, people working on reducing plastics. So actually, obviously we had to identify actions that we could bring forward, but also create new ones. So that's also where the creative people were really important. So maybe Clément, you want to talk a bit more about this?
Yeah, exactly. So as you said, we had to identify those actions. So and creating new ones. So which is not that simple actually, regarding all the processes of a brand with 12,000 supermarkets in the world. So yeah, we also had to be really proactive to convince Carrefour to go further with new ideas, new acts. So we suggested to them because we were, of course, determined to determine to this platform and not to be kind of an empty shell after a few years. So yeah, we still keep going this way today, and we will also tomorrow. But yeah, we had to. I mean, the creative team had to suggest Carrefour what could be those acts. Actually, yeah.
Obviously, there were obstacles along the way, but actually, it's also what makes us proud of the project. So the biggest obstacle was the scale of it, because the more people are involved, the more difficult it gets. So there were actually the worldwide scale, because it was a platform for 10 countries, but it was also about the scale, the scope of the players impacted by this platform, from marketing to supply chain. So definitely the biggest obstacle, but also biggest impact and biggest reason to be proud of was the scale of the project.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we're proud of the white pencil.
Yep.
But while we were developing it, yeah, so we were very proud of the scale, the size, the impact. Actually, each country now where Carrefour operates has its own acts, which are quite specific to local issues as well. So to give you some examples, in France, we had an act to finance the conversion of 2,000 farmers to organic farming, an act to change the law and make video surveillance mandatory in slaughterhouses. So quite a big subject. In Brazil, for instance, there is a huge project of food price inflation. And so they had a really good idea of carving the prices in steel on the shelves, on Carrefour shelves, to show that it wouldn't change. In China, they did an act on food safety because it's a huge subject there. And worldwide, there were huge acts to finance 60,000 farmers in the quality programs, to remake the Carrefour label with higher quality standards, to deploy blockchain technology for traceability. So it was a very big step and a very big program to move Carrefour forward. Yeah, and also another thing we were quite proud of with Clément was the copycats, actually.
Yeah.
Because it inspired a lot of brands from other categories to do their transformation, obviously, but sometimes they didn't even change the name of the ID. So they would call it in French, actually, but they would call it act for something, or every act counts, etc. So we are quite proud of it, because actually it forces them to be much more committed to their transition and to take concrete action, not just talk about it, not just talk about how committed they are to be better. So we love the copycats, actually.
And just to add a thing on this one, I think we have to say, and we need to say that we are really proud of our client, and we're proud to collaborate with people who had, for example, enough guts to and trust for us to defy, for example, again with the black supermarket, to defy an unfair law in order to change it. So yeah, I'm talking about the black supermarket, and so just for you to remember, we sold illegal fruit and vegetables in Carrefour stores, so we faced huge fines and stuff. So we're really proud of this act in particular, as we succeed to change the law and to get rid of the official seeds catalog, which is just by agrochemical lobbies and stuff. So yeah, real good act and benefit for all. So yes, we can say that we had a true impact on the food industry thanks to this campaign and thanks to Carrefour. And so yeah, no, we have no more fruits and vegetables varieties to put in our plates. It's as simple as that. So really proud of this. And so yeah, this one is particular, which is a real act of food. And also, just one last thing. It's we have a motto here at Marcel, which is we want to make things that change things. So we have it painted on a huge wall, at the entrance of the agency. And yeah, we think that this campaign in particular is indeed a good example of what we aspire for at Marcel. And it just convinced us a bit more that this motto is actually a good one and that we should read it every day. So yes, we also quite proud to launch this kind of campaign, which is, I mean, exactly what we stand for at the agency. And
yeah, so the moment we realized the project was going to be a success, actually, when we were pitching, I think we felt like we were building something bigger than us, and also that it was creating real enthusiasm internally at Carrefour. So we knew it would change things. So it was a pretty long process, but also a pretty exhilarating process for that matter. But obviously we were very confident, and, you know, a posteriori we were very very confident, etc. But but also the moment we knew it was going to be a success was the week of the launch, when Carrefour's stock value increased. Yeah, the question of KPIs actually is pretty interesting, because we had to track new KPIs relating to quality, to food quality, because Carrefour was switching models from the price-based model to the food quality model. So traditional KPIs had to change. Business-wise, for instance, we were looking for sales increase on organic food, on fresh fruits and vegetables. And image-wise, we were tracking brand items relating to food quality specifically. So obviously, when we tracked the results, we tracked overall worldwide sales and online sales, obviously, because it's a huge subject. But what we were very proud of was that, obviously, worldwide sales rose by 3%, so it was a huge success for a player of this size already. But also they became leader on organic food in France, which is their origin, the biggest country where they operate. And also customers' buying behavior started to change, because the sales of fruits and vegetables worldwide rose by 5%, and organic sales by 28%. And since organic food is going to be the future for the development of the category, it's a huge deal to track this. But we were also tracking, again, signs of the corporate transformation. So we were tracking how are they evolving internally, how many acts are they creating. And so they created a tracking tool internally to track this, and to track the transformation of all the divisions at the Carrefour company.
So yeah, Act for Food is not a one-shot campaign. It's a durable creative platform for Carrefour transformation in 10 countries. So the whole company is now fully driven by its mission, and I think we can also be quite proud of it. But yeah, now we have all the Carrefour shareholders. They voted to engrave the Act for Food in the company's bylaws. So now it's written on the bylaws that Carrefour has to be the leader of the food transition for all. So now it's written with the blood, you know. And so yeah, we in the second year of the strategy to invest all our advertising budget in grand brand acts rather than grand speeches. So yeah, so having met our objective, see the Carrefour CEO, which is Alexandre Bompard, raised them for 2022 with the ambition to double revenue on organic food and raise brand preference by another 50 points by acting for plastic reduction, climate-friendly food production, for example, and many more.